All right. Welcome tonight, everyone, to our virtual event featuring El Mayor Tequila. My name is Shannon, and I'm a part of the New Hampshire Liquor and Wine Outlet social team. So, in honor of Women's History Month, the New Hampshire Liquor and Wine Outlets is proud to bring you this series of webinars with women owned and women run wineries and distilleries, all products of which that we carry in our stores. So tonight I am joined by Graciela Gonzalez. She is the brand ambassador for El Mayor Tequila. Graciela will be taking us through a really great presentation of El Mayor's history, her role as a brand ambassador, as well as tasting 4 different El Mayor tequilas. So in addition to Graciela, we also have Mark Roy of the New Hampshire Liquor and Wine Outlet Spirits marketing team. Mark is here to answer any and all of your questions regarding availability, and inventory of the El Mayor products in our stores, and also happens to be well versed in all things tequila as well. So great resource to tap into. For those of you that have pre-registered tonight and have joined us via Zoom, we are going to be giving away 3 El Mayor golf prize packs, really awesome prize packs, including a set of Titleist golf balls, a Nike windbreaker, and a Nike baseball hat. So be sure to be listening really closely to Graciela's presentation. We're going to be asking 3 trivia questions for the prize packs tonight. So with that, Graciela, I will pass it off and I will share your presentation now.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Shannon, for the fabulous presentation. It is my pleasure to be here with you guys, and as you were mentioning, especially because it's Women's History Month. So this is very exciting for me. My name, as you said, it's Graciela Gonzalez. I'm the 4th master distiller, 4th generation of distillers in my family, but the first woman. So this is a very big change in our company. We do have a lot of women working at the distillery, but I am still the first master distiller. So this is a big, big thing. My family has been in the tequila industry for around 150 years. As I said, I'm the 4th generation, but we have kept all the little secrets and all the fine way of making tequila as my great-grandfather did, who was the one that taught my father how to produce tequila. Before I get into the tequila history and a little bit in our rant, I want to talk a little bit about the partnership that we have with the Lux family. And to explain a little bit, we're very proud and very happy that 2 years ago, we opened our 2nd distillery. Well, now it's a distillery, the house for El Mayor, where we're producing El Mayor and Exotico and other amazing brands that we produce with the Luxus family. We have been doing business with the Luxus family since the 60s. But until today, we became 50% partners also at the distillery. So that is an amazing news, and this is great for us. We're very, very happy to share it with you guys. That being said, if my father was here speaking about the best production or best way to produce tequila, he would always likes to say that the best tequila is actually made at the fields and not at the distillery. And the reason why he says that is because it takes around between 6 and 12 years, depending on the climate. Back in the day, it was more between 11 and 12 years. Now with the global warming and a lot of other things involved, which I'm not going to get into those technical sides, we were able to harvest agave around 6 years, 6.5, 7. So we spend a lot of times in the fields. So every time that we're drinking or sipping or even taking a shot of a tequila blanco, we have to think and realize that in order to have this amazing drink, already at least 6.5 years, 6 years have passed at the fields. He likes to say this because he's very proud of his fields. And one of the things as a family that we're very proud is that, especially for the line of El Mayor, we only use agave that comes from the fields that we own. And this is very important because even though we also have other fields that we don't own and we use them for other brands, every time that we build a partnership with an agave grower, the way that they grow the agave, it's the same way we grow the agave in our own fields. So what this means is that every time that we make a partnership, we give them like a package of how to select the soil, how to plant, the distance between each plant, the distance between each road, how often to clean it, and so many, many other details has to be done like if it was our fields. But that leaving a little bit on the side and concentrating a little bit on El Mayor, which is the tequila that we're speaking today, I'll tell you a little bit of the background and then also the production, which is very important. Well, starting with the background, the word El Mayor means the eldest. And my father used it, and he liked this name especially because he wanted to honor the person that taught him how to produce tequila and everything that he knows about tequila. And it wasn't his father, it was his great-grandfather. Therefore, he named this tequila El Mayor, meaning the eldest. Going a little bit more up towards the production side, we're going to start, as I mentioned, first with the fields. So we start with the selection of the land, which is very important. And when I say the selection of the land, of the soil, it's that we take a little bit of soil. If we're going to purchase a new land, we send it to the lab just to check how high it's in minerals, if it's what we're looking for in order to grow our agaves. And also, even though we already own the land, after we harvest, we do the same thing. We take samples, and sometimes we let the rest, we let the soil to rest for a little bit, so that when we finally replant, it has all the minerals that we consider are very necessary for our plants. Another important thing to know is that every time that we're planting an agave, that little agave comes from a mother plant. So those baby agaves, we don't buy them in the market. We always get them from our own fields. So we have a special selection of the baby agave. So we always just use the best from the best. The rest, we actually sell it out to the market. Once we start planting our agaves, as I said, we take a lot of pride. We walk the plantations very often, and we take a lot of care from it. A lot of people have the misconception that agave is kind of like a cactus, and then you can plant it and then just come back after many years and harvest it. That is a very, very bad idea that people may have about agave. Agave needs a lot of sun. It needs water, natural water. We don't have to water them anything else any more than what they're getting from the rainy season, but we definitely need to keep them clean. If we don't keep them clean, the grass will grow and it will cover the agave. If the agave doesn't have sun, it doesn't grow. Also, the agave is exposed to many, many different sicknesses. One of the biggest one that we deal with is a little animal that it's called picudo, and it jumps from one to another one. It can go from one plantation to another one, and basically it's the insides of the plant, so it rottens. So we have to be very careful with that. After, let's say, 6 years and a half, 7 years and a half in the best case scenario, depending on when the plant is ready, then we're ready to go and harvest. One important thing, and I always like to talk about this and mention it, it's that agave is just like a human. I've heard a lot of people saying, oh, I make the best tequila because I use only 12 years old agave, 13 years old agave. And the only thing that I can think, it's like, Jesus, I don't know how you can control that. Because that is something that we can't control. As I was saying, agaves are kind of like humans. Once they mature, they mature. You can't really have like a media of like, oh, it's going to be completely mature. And if you don't harvest it when it's ready to be harvested, the only thing that it's going to happen is that the plant will start dying, if that makes sense. It will start losing its sugar content. And by the end of the day, the sugar content is what we're going to convert into alcohol. So that's not going to be a very efficient thing. So the way that we do select agave for El Mayor, it is a plant by plant. It sounds crazy, but it is like that. So what we have our experts walking through the roads and marking with a kind of like a little spray, marking each plant that it's ready to be harvested. Of course, they have very good eyes. So it's like a quick process. They're walking and they see that the plant is healthy, that it's ready. The plant by itself has a lot of signs that it will let you know that the plant is ready to harvest. And then we start harvesting. Another important thing is that usually the places where we harvest for obtaining the agave for El Mayor, they're a little bit rocky. And you would think like, well, why rocky? And it's just that we realized that when the plant suffers and competes with the rocks in order to grow and come out, it might not come out as big as other plantations that we have, as other plants, but the sugar content, it's very high. because it's struggling. So it's very high. So that is at the agave fields. So once we harvest, we fill the truck and everything. One very important thing to know about our distillery is that we only produce tequila with the freshest agave. So what does that mean? That means that once we harvest the agave and it's in the truck, that will take around between the harvesting, filling up the truck and the truck being at the distillery, around 12 hours, 10 hours. That agave has to be cooked within 24 hours. If you think about the climate of Guadalajara, that it's sometimes like 80s and close to the 90s, if we don't cook that agave quick enough, the cooking process starts, even though it's not in the oven. Another thing that we do, and kind of like a little trick, is that we don't chop the agave at the distillery. At the plantations, we chop it at the distillery. Although it's a little bit more expensive to do it at the distillery, we decided to do it at the distillery. So again, the cooking process doesn't start before. So once we have the agave finally at the distillery, we run all our businesses separately. And the only reason why we do this is to have very high control of quality, which it was always very important, not only for my father, but since my great-grandfather. So once the truck arrives to the distillery, we could take some samples. And if the agave has all the checks that we need, if that makes sense, in order to produce El Mayor with it, then we receive it, and then we start finally all our process at the distillery. So per se, Paul, my brother, it's the one that it's in charge to make our distillery more efficient, but not only efficient, to keep that quality that makes us very proud. So if he doesn't think that the agave has the qualities that he's looking for when we are producing El Mayor, he will reject the truck and he will be like, well, that is not my problem. That is somebody else's problem. My uncle Jorge, who is a person that we really, really trust, he is the one that runs part of the plantations. So that would be, in that point, he will have to deal with it. Then moving forward to the distillery, finally, when we have the agave, what we do is that we fill all our stainless steel ovens. One thing that we're very proud is that we were one of the first families to keep the tradition in the making of tequila, but also have a great combination with technology. So by that I mean that we produce tequila the traditional way. That means that we first cook the agave, then we obtain the juice after the 5-step milling systems. Then we go to fermentation, then distillation, and finally maceration if needed. And we don't use any diffusers. Nevertheless, we did move with the technology size, and I will explain in every single step of our production where we actually combine a little bit of technology. So starting with the cooking process, as I said, we use, I'm sorry, somebody just walked in, my apologies. I'm like, what's going on? So we use stainless steel ovens, and what we do is that we chop the agaves, and then we fill very consistently the stainless steel ovens. We leave little spaces between each piece of agave, and the only reason why we do that is because we're looking for a perfectly even cook. What we do also, it's at least we cook our agaves for 24 hours. And the reason why I like to say at least, it's because depending on which time of the year we're cooking the agave, it's going to take different timings. Why is this? If you think about it, and we are cooking agave while it's the rainy season, the agave, it's moist, it's very wet. So the cooking process is going to be way faster. If we do it during the dry season, it will take a little bit longer. So at least 24 hours for the cooking. And after the 24 hours, what we do is we let it rest without moving anything. We open the ovens, and then we'll let it rest for another 24 hours. In that way, all our agave has the same cook. The second step, which is very important, is how we obtain the juice from the agave. What we do, we don't use the old method, which was called with Taona, but the way that we can have the same result, if that makes sense, or like, if not the same result, the result that we're looking for, it's that we have a 5-step milling system. The difference with our milling system is that by controlling the pressure that we add, we will obtain different kind of juices. For instance, when we are producing El Mayor, what we do is just gently squeeze the pieces of agave, trying not to touch any fibers. Touching the fibers is not a bad thing or a good thing. It's just that when my father was creating the line of El Mayor, and what he was really trying to achieve was a very smooth line. By not touching the fibers, you have a very full body tequila. Nevertheless, it doesn't have that harshness that sometimes we have. It is not a bad thing, as I was mentioning it. For other brands, we do it, but especially for El Mayor, because we are looking for a very smooth and elegant tequila, we just gently squeeze the agave. Also, a very important thing, it's the water that we use. Not a lot of people touch base with the water, but the two most important ingredients in the production of tequila, it's the agave, and second of all, the water. So while we are going through the 5-step milling system, we add water. One important thing to tell you guys is that we have our own well at the distillery. Nevertheless, we have our treatment plant just to make sure that it has the quality that we're looking for every single time. That being said, then we go to the fermentation side. Our fermentation is a controlled fermentation. I know that right now there's like a big trend to do everything like a little bit more wild. The only reason why we don't do it wild or anything, it's for the only purpose of control our production and also flavors and aromas. You want to be efficient. You don't want to be only an amazing distillery, but you want to keep consistency and efficiency. So therefore, we decide to do a control. One very unique thing about us is that we have been using the same yeast strain for 125 years. A little bit before that, my great-grandfather had his own formula and he kept duplicating it. Then he taught my father how to do it, who taught the two master distillers that we have at the distillery, Paul, my brother, and myself. So it's kind of like our little secret when it comes to cooking, if that makes sense, in our distillery. Fermentation takes around between 18 to 24 hours. Then we go to the distillation part. This is also a very important part for us. There's a very big trend right now going to a third distillation. So when we're talking about El Mayor tequila, we only do 2 distillations. We take a little bit of the heads, the whole heart, and of course, a little bit of tails. We didn't decide to only keep the heart just because we needed something that gives a little bit more body to our tequila. And we believe that when you only have the heart, you have a pretty plain product. That's our own opinion. And also the only 2 distillations, it's because when you go through a third distillation, you might as well just drink vodka. Honestly, you don't want to shave all the amazing aromas and flavors that tequila has. Tequila is such a special and unique spirit that when you're drinking it, you do want to have all the peaks that you're getting. And even when you're sniffing, when you're drinking it, all the different flavors that open in the front part of your palate, the middle part of your palate, the back part of your palate, it's absolutely amazing. So therefore, we did not want to shave anything. We just wanted to enhance all those amazing flavors in a very balanced way, if that makes sense. We do it.
We actually have a question regarding that.
Oh, yeah.
Juan in our Zoom chat is actually curious if there are any additives.
No, we don't have any additives. No. And I'll talk a little bit more about the additives especially when it comes like the trickiest part. It's when we are going through maturation. Another important thing that I forgot to mention is that El Mayor tequila is 100% agave. So that means that all the sugars that you are obtaining, that you're converting actually into alcohol, only come from the agave. We are not adding any cane sugar nor anything else. And this is all how all this has to be approved by the CRT, which is the chamber that controls that everything. All the distillers that we are out there, we're in compliance with all the norms that we have. Well, that being said, so far, no more questions around this? Okay.
Oh, no, continue. Yeah, that one just made sense to interject at that point.
Okay, no problem. And I'm always open, so it's great. I think that it's even better while I'm speaking that people ask questions, because then we forget them a little bit. Then we go to the maturation part. One thing, so finally, we went through our, let's say, at least 7 years, And then we have this amazing product that it's El Mayor Blanco. A lot of people think that we just go there and then bottle it. Well, we don't. What we do is that we let it rest at least for 2 months in stainless steel tanks. Why would we do this? We just want to make sure that the behavior of this product, it's absolutely what we were looking for. And then we bring down the temperature very, very, very down. Not a lot of people, you don't have to do this step. The only reason why we do it, it's because you have to think about it. We ship this product all the way to, I mean, I live in Boston now. So let's say all the way to Boston. And with the low temperatures that we have right now, we want to know how our tequila is going to be behaved. You don't want it to start having like some sediments. That doesn't mean that your tequila is going to be bad. It just visually doesn't look that great. Not like turbid product that it's a little bit turbid or that it has like some bodies. So therefore we just like let it rest for 2 months, then bring down a lot the temperature. And once we realize that it's how we want it, then it's ready to go to be bottled. But before this, for every single batch that we produce for El Mayor, it has to be approved by my father. So that's like a very important thing for us. So once we have the batch, it's already cooled down and everything. It looks like it's ready to be bottled and everything. It's sent to our tasting panel. That it's an in-house tasting panel that it's confirmed by 7 people. And if it's approved by the tasting panel, obviously we have like all the results from the chromatographer, which is the machine that it's in charge of measuring ethanol, methanol, a bunch of things that I can't even pronounce in my own language. So once we have like both the results and we compare them and they approve this batch, then it's sent to my father. If he approves it, then it's ready to go to the bottling facility. Once it gets to the bottling facility, it goes again through another tasting panel. Why are we doing this if the master distiller already approved it? Because we don't have our bottling facility isn't in our distillery. So we want to make sure that nothing happens to our product, that it just kept the same way when it's taken to the bottling facility, if that makes sense. It's just like an extra step to make sure that we always deliver consistency. So speaking about maduration, we're going to start with our reposado. Well, I don't know if you like this idea. Why don't we start with the tasting? And as we go through the tasting, I'll tell you a little bit of how long our product is rested.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, so for those of you that are tasting along at home, get your bottles ready.
Well said. Well, I'm gonna start. I am ready. I got prepared a little bit. I'm always prepared with my tequila. Mark knows this. This is my favorite part. I'm a sommelier. Just don't. I'm not an alcoholic. It's just that I'm a sommelier. So this is why this is like my favorite part of every time that I get to do a tequila tasting. So first of all, I like to do our tequila tastings just the same way that we do the wine tastings, just because it makes sense. So the glasses that I recommend to do the tequila tastings, they're actually made by Riedel. And if you don't have them, it's fine. As long as you have, you can use like a flute, like a champagne flute, that will help you a lot. What you don't want to be using all the time, it's like those little shots, because when we're sniffing the tequila, just like any other spirit, if we go too close, the only thing that we're going to get is that kick of alcohol. And that's not what we want. We want to be able to experience all the earthiness. For instance, like in tequila, you want to experience like the earthiness or even sweetness, depending which mark we are trying. So that being said, we're going to grab our glass and we're going to swirl a little bit of glass. In that way, we're going to see the body of our product. You're going to think, what is she talking about? Like which kind of body with tequila? But it's very important. And if you see, El Mayor has a lot of body and sticks to the walls, forming some, like in the wine, we call them legs. When we're talking about tequila, we call them tears. And that's just because we are very dramatic people, but it's just to have like a different fun word to express them. I don't even know if everyone calls them that, or I was taught by my nana that we call them tears. So I wouldn't take this as a professional comment. It's just how I grew up. So you can see like all the tears that are formed, they are lovely. What this is going to tell us is that it's going to be very smooth, not only on the palate, but in the throat. Why is this so important? Especially when we're doing tequila tastings, we don't spit, or usually you don't spit the tequila. because part of the interesting thing about tasting tequilas, it's to see how the tequila behaves not only in your palate, but on your throat, to be able to appreciate that earthiness, that kick of agave, but also to be able to perceive the body that it has. So that being said, we already see the tears. We're gonna sniff. So I recommend to place your nose 2 or 3 fingers away from the glass. Do not go too close. And if you're not getting anything, what you may also be able to do, it's just like waft. Because otherwise, as I said, with any other spirit, if you go too close, you're just gonna get kicks of alcohol. And in this way, you get like all the freshness, earthiness. Although this is a blanco and it's earthy and it's kind of spicy, it's very interesting because it's very floral. It's extremely floral for a blanco. And fruity too. You're able to find some hints, even like citruses, but more of like green apples. It's very, very interesting. And now, well, of course, my favorite part, which is finally trying it. Cheers to everyone. Salud. What I highly recommend is to have a very small sip. With this very small sip, what we're going to do is we're going to just like cleanse our palate. We're going to play a little bit with it. And then the second sip can be a little bit longer. Why do I recommend this? Because just like for anything else, you have to prepare your palate. Otherwise, you're also going to numb only your tasting buds. And it's just the same thing as we are drinking scotch or whiskey or bourbon. You have to be prepared for that. So first, a very small sip, play around with it. And then the second can be a little bit longer. Cheers to everyone. It's absolutely amazing. I mean, I don't know if you guys realize, for a blanco, it's very smooth. In the front part of your palate, you're going to be able to open up to that earthiness and kind of like that like little thing that makes you tingle a little bit. Then in the middle part, it's going to open a little bit more for the sweetness. It's very fresh, also herbal. And once you swallow it, you get all the warmth that we love about tequila, but it's not overpowering. Hope you like that one. That is that's very funny because I love. I mean, you start with a blanco, and I'll explain why. But this is my favorite version, so I'm always very, very happy. I'm like, if I just have to taste the blanco, I'm okay with it. Well, that being said, I like the other question when they asked us if we had any additives. We don't have any additives. And one thing that I want you guys to have in mind as we move forward from the blanco to reposado, añejo, and cristalino at the end, it's that all the color, all the flavor, and all the aroma evolution that we're going to see, it only comes from the barrels. We do not add anything else. And I'll explain to you how are we able to keep consistency without having any additives. So then we're moving on to the reposado. The first thing that we're going to realize is that it's going to be a little bit darker than the blanco. This one, it's more like on a straw side kind of color. It's golden. It's very bright. You can swirl it again. We'll see the body. The blanco is always going to be our base. So we know that all the tequilas will have a great body because the blanco has a great body. So you have to be very careful when you're when you're going to have a whole line of tequilas and you're in the production of the blanco, you have to be very careful with it because the production of the blanco is always going to be your base. So you want to have an extremely nice blanco. So you have a very nice reposado, añejo, and extra añejo, if that makes sense. That being said, with the aroma, this one is going to be, and this is what one thing that makes us all different. Every time that I'm tasting with Paul, my brother, he finds it a lot smoother than blanco. I don't find it smoother than blanco. I find it, it's like if the blanco was turning more towards the elegant side. So instead of finding that easy, that citrusy that I was talking about and like fruitiness, it's like, this is like going a little bit more towards like the dry fruits, if that makes sense. Not pepper that you find in the blanco, but kind of like cinnamon. It's very nice. Also, of course, you're going to get oak, and then you're going to get vanilla. So one thing that it's very important to know about El Mayor is that we only use bourbon barrels in order to age our products. So therefore, of course, there's also going to be like a little bit like a bourbon-y kind of like aroma, if that makes sense. So our reposado, it's rested at least for 9 months. By the law, you have to rest your tequilas at least for 2 months in order to call it reposado, but we decided that 9 months, it was perfect. There's nothing romantic behind it. It was just that for my father, for his palate, when he was producing this line of tequila, that's what he thought that it was best. But I mean, to each its own. I've tried all the reposados that are younger, and they're still very good. So finally, the best part, trying it. Cheers, you guys. This one, it's absolutely amazing because you can definitely feel the evolution of the product. Although you still have a lot of earthiness, and that's one thing that we took a lot of care, as I was saying, since the distillation, that we don't want to hide or like shave any of the true flavors from the agave. So this is the perfect example. You're drinking the reposado. It does have a little bit of, as I was saying, like vanilla hints. You got the oak, even like some honey hints that are absolutely amazing. They're very, very subtle, but you get that earthiness, that kick of spiciness that for the people that we love tequila, that's what we're looking for. We are looking for that extra flavor, if that makes sense. Now, moving forward to the añejo. Well, one thing that I always like to say, and just because a lot of people tend to ask me, how do we drink tequila in Mexico? So we, of course, we do cocktails and everything, but it's not our best shot, if that makes sense. I did not grow up drinking cocktails. I fell in love with margaritas when I moved to the States, to be completely honest. But we do drink it a lot straight or with sparkling water, which I love. So another question that I get is how to combine tequila, like which times, at what time do you drink it? So it's just like wine. And a lot of people do not understand that tequila can be just drink as wine and actually helps their digestion. So let's say when we're speaking about the blanco, it goes perfectly well with sushi, sashimi, ceviche, anything that is fresh, anything that it's not overwhelming, powerful in your palate. But it also goes amazing with vanilla and berries. So there's like a little trick. The reposado goes amazing, absolutely amazing with beef, with shrimps, with a little bit of garlic, with something that it's a little bit more spiced. It would help to balance it perfectly well. Then we go with the añejo. The añejo, we're going to see another change in color. So we have our 3 glasses. The blanco is completely crystal clear. Then we have the repo, which is a little bit more like on the straw side. And then we have the añejo, which is a little bit more like a light amber color. It's beautiful. It's very, I like to tell them that it's a very luxurious color. And then if we swirl, we're going to see all the body that it has. Absolutely great. And then if we come closer, this is just absolutely amazing. It has, again, it's going to have oak. Let's just forget the oak. It's going to have vanilla. Let's forget about the vanilla because we already felt it. It's going to have a little bit of like hazelnut. It's like kind of like the honey becomes stronger, a lot like kind of like brown sugars. I'm actually kind of mad that Mark can't jump on me to give me all his notes because he is just like, I don't think that I've ever met somebody that knows how to taste this tequila than him. I'm like, wow, it's amazing to talk to you, Mark, every time that I'm tasting tequila. It's very nice. And even by the aromas, it's going to tell you, it's telling you that it's going to be a fuller tequila, if that makes sense. So let's try it. This is absolutely great. So in order to call our añejos, they have to be rested aged at least for 12 months. Ours is aged at least for 18 months. And again, it's just because when my father was creating this line, 18 months felt like it was the right number for him after trying different ages of tequilas. So going back to consistency in our products, how will we keep consistency? Let's say that we prepare a batch of reposado and it's lacking of aroma. Then we add a barrel of añejo. Let's say that we prepare a batch of añejo and it's lacking of color. Then we add a barrel of extra añejo. Therefore, that's why I keep saying at least 18 months, meaning that the youngest barrel that we used for that batch, it was 18 years, but it could be a little bit older. The same thing with the reposado. It's at least 9 months. So by blending the barrels, it's how we keep consistency without having to add anything else to our products, which is very important for us. We want to be able to always deliver what you fell in love with. So that's the way we do it. It's a little bit more expensive, but we stay away from additives. And as I say, you will always feel like you're drinking the same product every single time. So this is as far as we go with the regular line of El Mayor. And of course, we have an extra añejo that we are not tasting today, but it's absolutely fabulous. I highly recommend you guys get your hands on that. But tonight we're talking about something different. We recently added a year and a half Cristalino into our line. And I like to touch base about this one. This is a Cristalino made with añejo. If you see, well, my background is not the best background right now, but you could tell, and if you have it in front of you, it's completely crystal clear. So what is this? What are you talking about when you're talking about Cristalinos? So a few years ago, some companies started doing certain innovations within the industry of tequila, and all the people that were part of the industry of tequila started playing around with removing the color from our aged products. A lot of people would say that doesn't make sense. When somebody told me the first time to do it, I was just like, I am not extracting the color of my fabulous añejo or extra añejo because it doesn't make sense. Because to me, when I see a dark product, immediately I think about barrels, I think about aging, I think about special product for a special occasion. So I don't want to do that. But you have to be like more open-minded, right? And then I started talking to bartenders, and they were like, Grace, think about this. Having a cocktail that it's a clear cocktail and has a flavor of a very complex spirit. Wouldn't it be just like lovely to discover that? And I was like, yeah, because usually we associate flavors with the visual and everything. So it did make sense and we understood it. So we started doing like our own research and how we wanted to jump into the Cristalino trend. So basically what a Cristalino means, it's an aged tequila that the color is removed. But it's not just, okay, let's just shave the color and that's it. And then we'll just put another label and let's call it Cristalino and price it a little bit higher. I wish it was that easy. You have to think that every time that you filter your product in order to extract the color, you lose aromas and you lose flavors. So that's the tricky part. To do a very nice job removing the color, nevertheless, not touching a lot of the aromas and a lot of the flavor. And we decided to do it with añejo. And actually, I have to tell you guys that I think that our master distiller did a great job, because not only he was able to keep most of the aromas and most of the flavor that we did not want to get rid of, but also to enhance some of the flavors that it's easier to find in a blanco. You are supposed to find them in every single mark of tequila, because if you don't find that earthiness and spiciness in a reposado, an añejo, or an extra añejo, that means either they're using something else in their product or that it was a very weak product. And you don't want that. You might as well, for that, drink a completely different spirit. What you want from tequila, it's, as I said, that earthiness and freshness and kick and everything that it makes it absolutely amazing. So in this one, if we swirl a glass, I think that I'm talking a lot about it. I'm just like looking at it, I'm drooling. I'm like, okay, I just want to taste it. We're going to see that it has a pretty nice body. It's just completely crystal clear. But when we come and sniff, it's absolutely amazing. It's so smooth. It does have some herbal hints, but in this one, you actually have to come in closer in order to get the herbal hints. And actually, if you place your nose below, it's going to be easier to find the herbal side. And in the middle, it's going to be more spicy. But you're able to find all this sweetness that comes, not that comes from the barrel, but also, I don't like to say that the barrel gives everything to a tequila. The barrel also helps to enhance certain flavors and aromas that they are already the tequila, just that they're a little bit hidden. So this one's like a perfect merge, if that makes sense. It's not too spicy, but it's not too sweet. It's just like a very, very good balance between both worlds. And finally, tasting it. Cheers. It is so unique because once you try it, it's very smooth. It is actually, you feel like the sweetness of it. It's very, it has some astringency, and it's herbal, and it's spicy, like right in the tip of your tongue. It's going to be like very refreshing, if that makes sense. Completely different than the Blanco that we have. So it's absolutely, I mean, amazing. It's very well balanced. And it's like one thing that we have to remember. It's hard to finally obtain that perfect place where you're not hiding anything. You're not covering the spiciness and the earthiness and the fun parts about tequila. We're just bringing back, making an añejo that it's supposed to be less earthy, a little more earthy. Nevertheless, you get like all that amazing complex flavors that you get from a barrel, kind of like a little bit more of the dry fruits and some of the elegant spices, even like some nuts you're able to find in it. So I forgot to mention the añejo that we use for Cristalino is aged at least 14 months. It is made the same wells as El Mayor. Nevertheless, it's going to be a different flavor because it's aged for less time, if that makes sense. So until right now, I think that would be it for me. I don't know if
we have some actually awesome questions from else. Yeah, we have a bunch of great questions actually. There's a lot of interest in the extra añejo that is aged in the rum barrels. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. Well, that was like so every year we're gonna have a limited edition. So if you get your hands in that rum, that would be amazing. So it's an extra añejo that we extended the aging in rum cask. So it's fabulous. It's going to be more on the spice side, if that makes sense. It has a full body. It's absolutely amazing. I highly recommend you guys to buy it whenever you can, because it was a very limited, I can't even remember right now what was the production, but it's a limited production. It is definitely something completely different that you've seen out there. And I get a lot of this question, like, does it taste like rum? No, it doesn't taste like rum. It just has a different, some different notes that you would, if you're a tequila drinker, you will be able to identify and be like, wow, this is a different kind of extra añejo. It's very, very unique. I think that we do a great job with the extra añejos, again, because we always take care that our products feel, taste, smell like tequila. So it is a very unique, that's all I can say, because you got to try it in order to understand the extra thing that this product has to give to everyone, if that makes sense.
Yeah, awesome. So someone else actually also curious about your char levels for the añejo and the extra añejo. They're curious if you actually rechar the barrels for those.
It depends on the barrels. As you know, each barrel that we get, what we do is that Paul, my brother, examines them and see what goodness we can get. And then he makes the decision if he's going to charge them. We do not recharge them. I mean, if we do it once, and if we don't have to do it at once, then we don't do it anymore. And also, depending on how many times we use the barrel, depending which product the barrel hosts before, it's depending how many times we're going to use that barrel. I don't know if that makes sense. Let's say if we used it for reposado, we will use it probably once more, twice more. If we use it for extrañejo, we probably won't use it anymore. But it also depends on the barrel. It's quite, it's interesting. It took me a lot of time to really understand, because I wanted to have like a whole system and always do it the same way, until somebody sat with me and was like, Grace, we can't do it like that. Each barrel behaves in a different way. Therefore, that's why every batch of tequila that we make, it's a combination, it's a blend of different barrels in order to have a balance, because every single barrel would be different.
Awesome. So we also have a question about what is the best variety for sipping versus mixing, and vice versa?
That is actually a very good question. If somebody would have asked me that many years ago, when I actually started working in the United States, I would say I would never mix, and I'm not kidding you, I would never mix my añejo. And I was in an account, I'll tell you the whole story very quick. And it was one of our best accounts in Florida. And we do a great business with him. And the owner is like very nice and meeting. He's like, oh my gosh, I want to make my Cadillac Margarita for you. I'm actually going to make it for you, not even my bartender. And I'm like, okay, perfect. I was expecting him to make it with Blanco. Long story short, I see him reaching añejo. And I'm like, I'm very petite. I was like ready to jump into this guy and be like, no, you're not going to mix my añejo tequila. You're killing it. I tried it. I am kidding you not. The best margarita I've ever tried. So my recommendation would be, honestly, just try them all. To each its own. I have to tell you, like, I have mixed them all. It's depending how I am. Like I love Manhattans with añejo. I absolutely love them. I love mojitos, but I can't drink rum. So I'll make mojitos with Blanco. So it's just like, play around them. I love extrañejo with espresso on the side, not at 9 a.m. in the morning, not during the week, but sometimes I will do it with a dark chocolate. So it's depending. And there's like, my father sometimes is like, oh my gosh, like you're just like killing both flavors. I'm like, no, I just think that my espresso complements very well the extrañejo, and I love it, especially like in a cold evening. So my best advice would be just to play around with them. I can tell you that my favorite drink in the summer, it's by far tequila blanco with sparkling water, some slices of cucumber, and a twist of lemon. Absolutely amazing.
I want to try that now. Take notes for the summer. Okay, so now we also have, let's see, Karen was curious what product or variety you would recommend for someone that's new to tequila.
That's a very good question. I would first ask them what's their favorite spirit, because I've seen a lot of people that drink either gin or vodka. So for me, asking them to try Blanco makes sense. Sometimes it's neat, sometimes in a cocktail, because they're used to like that freshness of the spirit. But if somebody that is telling me that they love bourbon, I would say extrañejo. If somebody that usually drinks Scotch or whiskey, I would say start with an añejo. So it's depending which is your favorite drink, with your favorite spirit. I would highly recommend to start with one or the other.
Okay. Now we have a question from Luann, who's curious about the change in bottle shape. She's curious if the product changed at all, and also why the bottle change.
So no, the product did not change at all. It's the same juice, as I was saying. The agave comes from the same plantations, same method and everything. The only reason why we moved to this bottle, it's just because we felt that this showed a little bit more of who we are, in a sense of like a craftiness, more crafty presentation, still very sleek and elegant as the other one, that you want to keep the bottle and use it for other purposes. But also, it was kind of hard to serve the other one, although like I love it. I understand, like for me, I was like, oh, it's not hard. Yeah, I'm pouring how many drinks in that? imagine in a restaurant, like with a lot of movement and everything. So it also makes sense that ways. And marketing wise, the other bottle took a lot of space on the shelves. So it was a mixture between trying to refresh the brand and also being more friendly for the retail stores and the bartenders.
Awesome. Let's see. So Luann is also curious if the Blanco is actually rested in stainless for 2 months. Because of that, will it make it more mellow, that stainless steel?
No, actually wouldn't change the flavor or anything. The only reason why we do it, it's because the production that we have, we started just doing it. So we had time to have the other tanks chilled and that's sent to the bottling facility and everything. And then we were doing that out of like time. And my father was like, wow, this is giving us a great opportunity to see if there's a change or like a movement in our tequila. So then we just like kept it as a something that has to be done. And this happened probably, I'll guess it was like 12 years ago, because it's an extra step and you don't like, you want to keep your juice just like moving, but we think it's definitely worth it, as I was saying, more than anything, because we're shipping those products to different countries. And the temperature in Guadalajara, what can I tell you? Like, it's telling us nothing. It's very warm. Although when it's cold, we wanted to see how it behaved in colder weather. So in order to have all this time, it's like around a month and a half, 2 months.
Okay, awesome. We have quite the fan in the group. Juan has asked some really awesome questions. He is curious what your outlook for agave production in Mexico is. He mentions the many new tequila brands and just using young agaves in diffusers.
So, I mean, a lot of people ask me, what do I think about diffusers? I don't have I mean, it's accepted. I think it changes the flavor. Yes, it changes the flavor, but if it's part of your process and you do it like in a way that you produce a product that it's liked by the consumers, it's fine. I have nothing against it. It's just that for us, in order to keep consistency in our flavor, if we move to a diffuser, then our flavor was gonna be compromised. And I'm not just having like a crazy idea. We tried to use it and we're like, no, we're not doing this. So therefore, every time that we're gonna make a change in our company, as I said, keeping the traditional side, but adding also technology has to make sense. It has to make sense to who we are and the product that we're making. As you see, we don't use like the old brick ovens, and we did move to the stainless steel ovens. Nevertheless, by controlling the temperature and doing like very long periods of cooking, we are able to achieve a very even cook and very nice and smooth cook, if that makes sense. What was the question again? Because I feel like I only responded one part of it.
Yeah, so just asking what the overall outlook for agave production in Mexico is.
As you know, we went through a shortage of agave between the speculations and a lot of things that were involved in there, kind of like the high consumption of agave for other purposes. It's just like we did not have a balance of the agave that we were going to have for tequila, but it looks like for next year, it's going to balance a lot more. And then just like every certain time that it happens, then we will have a lot more agave than what we need. So thanks to God, we haven't been in that position that we have to harvest younger agave. We haven't been in that position. So at least in our company, that's the way that we are managing it. We did have inventories hold on, so we were able to be stable.
Awesome. Okay, so in just a moment, I'm going to pass it over to Mark so he can talk a little bit about what we're currently carrying in stores. I know there was some question about if we carry the extra añejo in the rum casks. But before we do that, I did want to do our trivia questions for tonight. I'm hoping, Graciela, that you can help out with some of the correct answers. So I am going to ask the first question, and whoever answers it correctly in our chat will just pull at random So get your typing fingers ready for everyone joining us in Zoom. So the first question is, how long do we age our añejo tequila? So we'll see how many correct answers we have. We've got a variety of different answers. I don't know if you can see those coming in.
Yes. I'm a little bit blind, so I'm like.
Yeah. So Graciela, how long do you age your añejo?
At least 18 months.
18 months. All right. So let me just go through here. Okay. Sylvia Wesley, congratulations. You are the winner of our first prize pack. All right. Our second trivia question. Everyone, you still have another 2 chances to win. How long does it take an agave plant to mature? See if we can get some answers. Oh, yeah. Got a few. Not quite as many as the first time around. People seem to be unsure about this one. All right. Graciela, how many?
So I would say between 6 and 12, 7 and 12. It would be the right answer.
All right. Let's see. Ray DeMayo, looks like 6 to 12 for you. Okay, and our final question. How many times is El Mayor distilled? I think we're going to get a lot of responses for this one.
Yes, I love it.
Awesome. All right. Luann Lennox, congratulations. So that's Sylvia, Ray, and Luann. You are our 3 winners for tonight. And with that, Mark, I'll pass it over to you to talk a little bit about our store availability.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Graciela. Great presentation, and good to see you as always. Yeah, we're happy to announce in New Hampshire you can get pretty much the whole line of the El Mayor products. We carry the Blanco, Reposado, and Añejo in all our locations. They're great pricing. They're currently all on sale. So all these products that we talk about, please go to our liquor and wine outlets.com website, and you can type in the search bar El Mayor, and it'll bring up all their products. We do offer the Cristalino and the extra Añejo rum cask finish. Both of those were one-time buys for us. What that means is we get a limited number of cases, and it goes out to select stores. We usually try to spread around the state to our bigger locations, so all of our customers get a chance to get their hands on some of those bottles. So if you want to, again, type in El Mayor, and you can type in Añejo rum cask finish, and it should come up for you and let you know which locations and how many bottles they have, so you can go out and grab one. Like Graciela said, they're hard to come by, so you can get your hands on one. That's great. Also, I was lucky enough to travel down to the distillery a few years ago now. I'm certainly ready for another trip down there. So while we were down there, I got to sit with Paul and Graciela and go through some single barrel samplings, and we currently have 4 New Hampshire exclusive single barrels in the Reposado, and 4 of the Añejo as well in our in select stores out there as well. So it's a great opportunity to try some of those single barrels. I highly recommend buying 1 or 2 of them so you can taste them side by side and really see the flavor differences and the nuances between the single barrels. As Graciela mentioned earlier, when you go into those stores, all the tasting notes on those single barrels, those are my notes from when we went down and did the trip. So kind of gives you an idea of what I found in those tequilas. Certainly everybody's taste palette is different, so you may find some different things in there that I didn't. So we really encourage you to go out and try those. But it's a great lineup we have, and we can't thank Graciela and her family enough getting New Hampshire these products, and our local broker, Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits, and the crew at Lux that she mentioned earlier. It's a great business relationship, and we're happy to offer all of our consumers these great products from El Mayor.
Thanks, Mark. Sounds like we have pretty much anything and everything that you could possibly want from El Mayor, which is awesome. And I do want to join on any of the next trips down to the distillery. I'm going to just tag along on that one, even if it's just extra baggage.
That would be our pleasure.
So thank you so much, Graciela. Tonight has been so much fun. I have learned so much. We've gotten lots of comments of how awesome your presentation is. So thank you so much again for joining us tonight.
Shannon, thank you so much for, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. It's always my pleasure. I mean, I think that it's well known. I don't have to hide this, that New Hampshire is my favorite place to go. I enjoy to work with you guys. I think it has been already 6 years since I've been like even doing like the tasting with you guys and everything, and I absolutely love it. It's a great opportunity, and thanks for again opening always your ears and doors to women that were in the spirits industry for all your time, and for everyone that was so kind to log in. And I'm trying to read all the messages, and it's just like, thank you so much. I'm very happy. I'm glad that you guys enjoy my presentation, and looking forward to host you in Mexico finally, when we can travel and drink some tequila.
Is the distillery currently open for tour?
It is open. We are working. It's not opening. It's not open for visitors. But yeah, hopefully
soon enough, fingers crossed.
Yes.
All right, so for everyone that's still joining us tonight, if you've enjoyed tonight's event, be sure to check out the New Hampshire Liquor and Wine Outlets Eventbrite page for any upcoming events that you'd like to join. Tomorrow night, we are joined by Kat Hantis of 21 Seeds. So definitely want to check out that Eventbrite, see if there's any other events that you'd like to join us for. And if you have any further questions from tonight's event, please don't hesitate to reach out on Facebook. I have Graciela's contact information, so I can always reach out to her with any questions regarding any of the El Mayor products that she tasted tonight. So feel free to reach out, and I'm sure she'd be happy to answer any of them for us. Again, thank you so much for joining us. This has been so awesome, and have a great night to everyone, and see you again hopefully very soon.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.